Hello, fasting friends, and anybody else tuning in that's new. This subject today is so crucial for you to hear and to share with others, because I guarantee you yourself have been plagued with the negative effects of these foods and substances, and also those that you know. So this affects every age group. So if you're a human, you need to listen to this message. First of all, let me begin by saying our immune system is almost entirely residing within our gut. So our digestive system is a huge proponent or indicator of how our overall health is doing. And when we have anything going on with our digestive system that's not positive, we have an underlying health condition. And a lot of times the things that are causing these symptoms and conditions are just the foods we're eating. And so if we can learn to change up our diet and avoid certain things, we're going to see massive impact of positive in our health. So first of all, as we consider our gut, one way to look at it is close your eyes for a minute and imagine the most beautiful forest you've seen. This may be, a forest that you've been to. It could be a tropical rainforest, any type of forest that you can really get a good grasp of what would be there, what kind of plants and animals and bugs and all kinds of stuff would live here in this beautiful forest. So then I want you to consider that forest that you're picturing right now, that's your gut, okay? So this forest takes years of time to develop and grow and be very well nourished and strong and tall and big, right? So with our gut system, as we grow and our body is receiving nutrients from food and from supplements and whatnot, we start building this forest. Now, as with any forest, there are really good things for the forest, and then there's some bad things in the forest. And certain things that creep their way into the forest can cause all kinds of lasting damage. One example is fire. If you have ever witnessed fire in any type of forest, you can see the devastation. It not only wipes out the plants, but animals can't even live there often. And so it just kind of wipes it clean. So imagine your beautiful forest in your gut. And let me now tell you what happens when we consume things like artificial sweeteners, particularly things like Splenda and sucralose and other types of sweet and low, and you name it. Any of those little packages that are on the tables at the coffee shops and at these restaurants. Did you know that consuming one packet of those artificial sweeteners, just one, will wipe out half of the forest in your immune system, in your gut? So imagine a fire that comes through that wipes out half of your forest. That literally can happen from only one packet of artificial sugar, artificial sweetener. So let's take it a step further. Have you taken an antibiotic? I mean, hardly anybody in this world can say that they haven't. It's pretty rare. One dose of antibiotics, and this is around, so this could be like your doctor may have prescribed it for 3 days or 5 days or a week or 10 days. Whatever the dose is, it doesn't matter what type of antibiotic it was. One round of antibiotics will wipe out your forest and completely burn it to the ground for up to 2 years. So it's absolutely crucial that you do something to restore the forest within you and heal your body. And so what I want to talk to you about today is the foods that you want to avoid, and then the things that you want to add to your diet to try to regrow the forest and have it stay healthy and balanced. So first of all, often these foods that I'm going to talk to you about, they're actually recommended as or considered maybe even like a healthy food. And so for a lot of people, they've been consuming these things all throughout their life in abundance, thinking, well, it's a healthy thing, so I can have however much I want, right? It's not going to give me any negative effect. But here's the deal. When they started researching these, they usually, when they start testing, they start with animals, bugs, insects, whatever, to kind of get an idea of what's going on with this product and an animal or an insect. And so the first thing they started doing, the first one that they studied out was nightshade vegetables. So nightshade vegetables are things like tomatoes and eggplant, peppers, potatoes, what they realized is that insects and bugs that ate these foods died within minutes, hours, or days. And that's a little bit alarming. Like, why would a tomato or a pepper kill a bug? Like, that's crazy. So when they started seeing this, they thought, if this is so impactful enough to kill an insect or a bug, what is it doing to our bodies? And so when they actually started watching under a microscope and under like laboratory tests, along with other screening, what happened to a person's immune system and digestive tract and everything in terms of inflammation when they consume these vegetables, is they had extreme inflammation, a slowing of the digestion system, and then an almost like a outbreak, if you will, in your gut of bad gut flora, of bad bugs. And so what happens is these foods, like in particular, it's not that tomato itself is so bad, but the skin of the tomato and the seeds in it, those are the things that have these toxins in them. And the toxins that I'm referring to is called lectin. So lectin, there's certain plants and foods that are very high in lectin. And if we consume too much lectin, it basically starves our healthy gut flora and it feeds the bad gut flora. So just like other things like sugars and refined carbs and all of these things that we already know in our mind, like those are bad for my gut, those are not helping me. It literally feeds those things. And so we don't want to have a diet high in lectin. So, and now, you know that I'm a proponent of, low carb and keto. And so these are considered low carb fruits. And when I started researching this, I was kind of like, whoa. I mean, these are things I've told people, eat your abundance of your low carb fruits. It's no big deal. Not realizing myself that these are so high in lectins and what the negative side effects of lectins are. So the second food group that is seemingly healthy, but actually is really devastating to your gut is beans and legumes. And the reason why I put them in the same category is so many people consider like a cashew or a peanut to be a nut. But in reality, those are legumes. They're not nuts. And they're extremely high in lectins. These are very linked to prostate cancers and other cancers within the body. So we want to consume the right kind of nuts and complex carbohydrates and really kick out the ones that we know. In terms of beans, the one that is absolutely the most detrimental to your health is soybeans. Those are extremely high in lectin. Not to mention, most of all soybeans and soybean products are GMO, which is another reason why they are so hard on our immune system and our gut. The third group is grains. Again, we often think like, oh, whole grains, and they're so good for us, and we need them and all this. But in reality, most of what we have in the stores, it'll say like from whole grains, it's so far removed from it actually being like grown in a field and picked and eaten. It's processed anywhere from 20 to 50 times before it gets into your hands and mouth. So it's really far removed from actual food. And because it's so broken and processed and there's other stuff added to it for preserving it, it really is almost like an inert food. But not only is it just like, this is not really giving you anything but calories, it is in fact hurting your gut. So we just want to kick those out, which is why, again, so many people now have gluten intolerance and think that they're celiac. In reality, studies have proven that only 1% of people in the US are actually celiac, but we have like 80 times the amount of gluten intolerance now than we did 20 years ago. And that really comes down to the fact that these foods are being processed and grown genetically. They're genetically modified. They're so not the kind of grains that we had 200, 300, 500 years ago. They're completely different. So we basically want to remove all processed grains because they're not of any value and they're going to create an overgrowth of bad bugs. The last one, the fourth group that you want to eliminate is squash, or when you do eat it, there's a specific way you want to eat it. So when I talk about squash, the squash family includes things like pumpkin and zucchini and squash. And the bad parts of them are not the meat. The meat of the squash, the zucchini, the pumpkin, those are actually good for you. The parts of them that are actually negative for you, that are high in lectin, believe it or not, are the skins and seeds. So again, we have to find this balance because on one hand, we have studies that say, well, pumpkin seeds are super good for your health for so many ways. And the pumpkin seeds inside the green part of the pumpkin seed, it is quite healthy for certain things. But again, if we go too high with the, eating of the pumpkin seeds, we're going to be higher on our lectin, and then that's going to be bad. So it's all about finding balance. And I know it seems like with health so often, we're told one day, this is good for you, you should eat this, and the next day it's, no, don't eat it, it's bad, don't do it. And it's hard, you guys. This is a constant, it's, you know, the evolution of understanding food and diet, it's going to be ongoing until the end of time. I mean, we have learned so much in the last 100 years, and I'm sure that in 10 years, we're going to be saying things totally different than we do right now. But the things that I'm bringing to you are the most currently researched topics that are shown with studies that we've seen, not just in animals, but also in humans. So I just want you to know, like, I'm giving you this advice because it's what is the most scientifically studied advice of our time right now. And like I said, this is changing all the time. So you got to keep in touch with what's the latest, what's the newest, what is science showing us. And then again, at the same time, to realize that we all are different in the fact that even though we're human, we all have different environmental factors, from the things that we breathe in, to the amount of stress we have, to the places we go, the type of transportation we use. All of these things play a part in our overall health. And what's going to help you the most may not be what helps me the most, and vice versa. But you have to realize that we still have a baseline for, in this study of hundreds of humans, it's proven that this is the overlying outcome. So we generally will go with that, you know, the group consensus. But at the same time, you know, if you eat some of these other foods that I'm going to recommend and they don't agree with you, then cut them out and try something else. So what you need to understand is, with that immune system lying in our gut, like we talked about, every cell, every one human cell in our bodies has 9 non-human cells surrounding it. And a lot of people are like, what are you talking about? That's kind of weird. Why would we have non-human cells within our body? Well, it's because these are these microbes that come from our food and from breathing in things and touching things and getting things on our bodies. And we have microbiomes all over our body. And so there's different microbes that will live to help eat the stuff that's bad and you know, promote the stuff that's good. And so we literally have upwards of like 25 trillion microbes within our body. But the thing that's crazy is, when we eat these foods that I like, those ones I just mentioned, they kill the good microbes and they like breed the bad microbes exponentially. So we have to be very careful that we're not feeding into that, because what happens, what this looks like long term, is when we have all these things that are giving us more and more bad microbes, we start having this message sent from our tummy to our brain saying, hey, I really want this food. And you'll notice that those cravings that you're getting, they're usually for a sugary food, a refined carbohydrate, a saturated fat, some type of unhealthy thing that you know in your mind, like, this is not something I should be eating, but your body's telling you, I want it. I really, really want it. Why is that? It's because the healthy bugs that are supposed to tell your brain, like, hey, it's time to eat and I'm ready to eat and this is what I want, they're overpopulated by the negative microbes. And so we want to build up our positive microbes. And the best way to do that is through eating foods that are high in prebiotics. So a lot of you know maybe what a probiotic is, and probiotics are phenomenal. But here's the interesting fact. A lot of people are for probiotics, but they never talk about prebiotics. And here's the deal. If you have probiotics and you're consuming them all the time, it's kind of like having a field where you're going to go and you're going to plant a bunch of flowers, and you're planting and planting those flowers, and oh, you have these beautiful seeds, and at first your soil's gorgeous and it's good to go, but then after you plant them, you just leave the field and you never come back. Well, what's going to happen? Are those plants going to keep growing and being healthy if they're not watered and if they don't get the right amount of light and the right amount of heat? No, they're going to die. The seed just get, even though it started out as a healthy seed and the soil was healthy when it started, it's not going to continue to grow unless you feed it, okay? So probiotics live off of prebiotics. So when we consume prebiotic foods, it helps to feed the probiotics, and then they keep working and staying in our gut and being happy and doing their job. So I want to talk to you now about some prebiotic foods that you want to include in your diet that will help feed the probiotics and restore your gut health. So the first category is onion, garlics, and leeks. So all of these are very in themselves antibacterial, antifungal foods. and they will help promote the probiotics and the healthy gut flora in your body. Asparagus is another one. Jerusalem artichoke, sauerkraut, jicama, and kefir. The last one on the list is totally not keto, but I'm going to tell you it anyways because a lot of you are not eating keto, and so you need to know this. It's bananas, okay? So all of those foods, one or all of them, should be a part of your diet so that you can help keep your gut flora in check, okay? So try adding those to your diet. And in terms of probiotics, there obviously are a lot of companies out there, but you guys, you can actually get equally as much, if not more, in the most whole food way by using sauerkraut, like we mentioned, or kimchi, okay? So kimchi and sauerkraut have massive amounts of probiotics in them. So by you consuming those, along with your prebiotic foods, you're gonna restore your gut and be much better off. The other thing you need to know is oftentimes, you know, like me, I haven't taken antibiotics in years, but other people, you know, you've taken antibiotics or your children have taken antibiotics and you want to restore your gut. So you want to be doing this extra. But let's consider one more topic that I haven't brought up. And that's the fact that if you're eating meat that is not organic and pasture raised, you are more than likely consuming antibiotics without knowing it. Because most meats and almost every factory farm is required to use antibiotics in their food in their livestock because it's to cut down on bacteria. But you guys, it's actually proven that when you consume, it doesn't matter what kind of meat it is, when you consume an animal that was given antibiotics, you then are ingesting those antibiotics into your body too, and it's killing off some of your gut flora. So it's really important. Try to find meat that is organic and no antibiotics used. And it will show that on the label. So make sure that you check that out. If you have further questions, I'm happy to answer them. If you want to be more connected on a regular basis with me, you can join my fasting group on Facebook called Fasting with Friends. Just look it up, ask to be added, and I'll put you in the group. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel, and I'll keep making you guys more videos and keep you informed on the latest in health. Have an awesome day.